So, hello everybody. Welcome out to our classroom piano lessons on the web. Just give me less than a minute here to bring everything up and then we'll get started. All right. My goodness. Okay. All right. So, if it's your first time here, feel free to say hello in the chat. We'd love to hear from you, and welcome out to our classroom. Okay, it looks like we are here and ready, hopefully, anyway. Hello, Barbara's here. We got, I'll get everybody in the chat here. Jeremy's here. We got Harmony Smurf. Welcome out. I think I am unmuted now. Sorry about that. Okay, X-Boy is here. Welcome out. Bam and Molly is here once again. So sorry for being a little bit late today. I just got home a little bit late, so we're starting about a half hour late. So all right, let me get like one thing ready, and then we'll get right on into the lesson because I don't want to go too much over. I don't like to go too much over 9 o'clock because I need time to settle down at night and go to sleep. Okay. All right. We're ready. All right, let me do the intro, and then we're going to get right into it. Your piano teacher, Tim here, and today I have some awesome exercises that are really going to help you improve your two-handed piano playing. And I'm also going to show you the order in which you should learn them. Let's get on to the first one. Okay. Okay, the first exercise you should be learning, if you are not already, are your... Oops. Oh, that was easy. Okay. All right, the first exercise you should be learning, if you're not already, are your scales. And if you don't know, scale is from starting note up to the next note and all the notes in that key in between. But I'm not going to talk about what scales are today. That's something you'll have to find out by looking at other lessons on the channel. I need to reposition. Sorry, everybody. I'm a mess today. All right. Let's do this. Okay, the first exercise you should be working on, if you're not already, are scales. And obviously, you want to start out by learning your C scale. I would start out by learning them 2 octaves. Speed is not so much of an issue in the beginning, but you want to learn them 2 octaves in every key that you can, all the majors at least. So, then you would do the one with 1 sharp, and then the key with 2 sharps, and then the key with 3 sharps until you get the 7 sharps, and then learn all of your flat keys as well. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description for you if you are interested in learning more about exactly what scales are and how to play them. But learn them 2 octaves, each key. Yeah, let me kind of rephrase that. Hold on. So learn them in all your keys, 2 octaves. It's the very basic thing you should start with because scales involve playing the same note just an octave apart, and they involve simple finger crosses as well. So they aren't overly difficult, but there's something you want to start out with if you are new to playing with both hands. All right, so a lot of you probably do know about scales. Let's get on to the next one. All right, let me bring up the next thing here, and then let me check in with the chat really quick. All right, good. All right, glad to have everybody with us today. And let me bring up these Hanon exercises. All right, here we go. Always love to see what we're talking about here. All right. Okay, after you've learned your scales, at least, nah. All right, after you've learned your scales, the next thing you should learn are Hanon exercises. Now, what are these and why are they good for beginners? Or maybe the second exercise you should learn? Well, because they involve playing the same note an octave apart again in parallel. So that's why I told you to learn scales, right? So what's the point of these? Well, each pattern's a little bit different, whereas scales are all pretty much the same. I mean, they have different sharps or flats. What a Hanon exercise will do is it will introduce a pattern, and you will move that pattern up the keyboard gradually until you get to the top, which happens around here or so. And then what you do is you come back the other way. Whoops. So, and each exercise is actually designed to train a certain part of your hand. So like coming down here with your left hand, you're kind of getting a stretch there. With your right hand, you're getting a stretch there. And each exercise has a different kind of thing that it is working on. Let me just show you one more exercise so you get the idea. And I will put a link here in the description so you can find these. Okay, so here's exercise number 2, Hanon exercise. And this one has more of a stretch in the beginning, like the first 3 notes, but then it goes in a different direction. So it's almost like a tongue twister, I guess you could say, where you're getting used to moving around in different patterns up and down. And you will find that as you learn pieces, you're going to find patterns similar to these. So it's really, really good that you're training your brain, building that dexterity, building that coordination and hand independence, which we're going to work on with some of the other exercises. So how should you practice these? Well, there's a lot of exercises to learn. What I would do is I would learn each exercise. I would learn the first 10. They're all on this website here. First 10, no speed requirements at all. And you want to, And you just want to be able to play from the beginning to the end. After you do that for a while, you want to set a metronome and then begin playing them with the metronome, getting them up to a speed, I would say, of about quarter note equals 100, maybe even 120. All right, let me show you the next exercise. All right, let me just check in with you guys here. All right, I will be answering questions at the very end. Just to let you guys know, I just want to check in, make sure everything's working properly. Man, my lights back there need some batteries. Okay, anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked. Okay, cool. Let me bring this up for everybody so you know what I'm doing. Here it is. Okay, after you've learned your scales, after you learn the first 10 Hanon exercises or so, maybe you're working on getting that tempo up, you definitely want to learn the Czerny School of Velocity. These are really cool because these kind of combine everything all into one. They combine scales, chords, I think the ones later on arpeggios, and different things you're actually going to find in actual sheet music. And similar to the Hanon exercises, they involve certain patterns and then moving up the keyboard. By the way, that is what we call sequencing, where you have a pattern of notes and then you're just moving it up like that. So that's really good to get used to because you're going to see that in your music a lot. So the same thing with these. I would honestly learn the first 10. No speed requirements. Don't worry about getting the metronome out or anything. Just learn the first 10, be able to get from the beginning to the end of each one, because they will train you on something a little bit different. And then what I would do is go through the first 10 a second time using a metronome, that thing that dings and clicks, to get your speed up. And you want to be as accurate as possible, or maintain a highest speed that you can while still maintaining accuracy with your notes. I'm going to also try to remember a link in the description for you so you know where to find these as well. I believe all the things I'm going to be telling you tonight, or all the exercises, you can find online, which is great. So after the whole lesson's over, then, go through and check them out and download them, or, bookmark them. All right, on to the next exercise that I recommend. Okay. Okay, passage playing. Let me get this up. Should just take another second or so. Okay, after scales, Hanon, Czerny School of Velocity, what should you learn next? Well, the perfect thing that builds right on top of that is, again, by Czerny, which is the exercises in passage playing. So let's take a look. So the exercises in passage playing, I love these. I love to actually practice these because, first of all, they sound more like pieces, and that's actually how these exercises are going to go. They're going to sound more and more like things you would actually find in music. This time you just have sort of scale patterns again, but not just, up and down all the time. It might be go up and down and up and down, and then you have like, whoops. Yeah, it would help if I practice these ahead of time. Sorry about that. All right. And then you have like arpeggio patterns. Try that again, sorry. And then after like the little scale patterns, you'll have arpeggio patterns. And then maybe a scale pattern. So it really is mixing up a lot of ideas into one. The cool thing about this is you may notice like between numbers 1 and 2, I find that these like kind of go in pairs. So once you learn number 1, you learn number 2. So the beginning of number 1 goes like this. And the beginning of number 2 goes like this. Sound familiar? Well, they're the exact same thing. They're just swapped, which is really cool because it's going to give you a really good practice with your scale runs, arpeggios in the right hand, but not just your right hand, also your left hand. And if you just scroll down, I'm just going to spend another second here kind of telling you about this. As you can see, each one's a little bit different. Here now you have like kind of a waltz thing going on, and then you switch to more of a waltz thing going on in your left hand. So it's a really, really good practice getting both hands. And then when you put them together, you want to be training both hands so that when you put them together, it's a little bit easier. Okay, on to the next set of... one thing I want to tell you is that to practice these, just go through and learn them. I would learn them one at a time. Maybe learn the first one and then get the first one up to speed. Learn the second one, then get the second one up to speed. And then maybe, since they kind of go in pairs, play number 1 and number 2 and see if you can play them at the same speed. And that'll be a really good test to make sure that both hands are working together and you don't have one hand that's super, super way stronger than the other, which actually is really common because a lot of us are dominant-handed one way or the other. Okay, on to the next exercise. Okay, great. Things are going well. Okay. Perfect. All right, we got a couple more to go, and then we'll see how we do here. All right. Okay, after you've learned... try again. After you have learned all of these, what should you do then? Maybe you're running out of things to practice. Well, I did give you a pretty good list, but if you've learned all your scales, especially, one thing I want to tell you about is there's different ways to practice scales, and a lot of people don't know this. They're just used to playing them, 2, maybe even 4 octaves you want to work up to, but there are other ways to practice them. For instance, we're used to practicing them in parallel, meaning you're moving the same note at the same time at the same speed. However, what you can do is you can learn them in contrary motion. Oops. You can learn them in contrary motion, meaning you're going the opposite direction. It's kind of interesting because it's going to be a different type of feel, because when you're practicing in the parallel, you're used to finger crosses at certain times. Here, what's weird is it makes it a little bit easier because the finger crosses actually happen at the same time. So you have to get used to just that little bit of a difference. So try learning them in parallel, starting on the same note and then branching out. And you have to be careful because, say you're doing the key of G, you have to make sure that you have any notes in the key signature where they're supposed to be. So that part is the challenge, because now those do not hit at the same time. So I'd say finger-wise, they're easier in the contrary, but they are more difficult with the sharps and flats. Okay, let me show you some other ways to practice scales. You can also practice scales in thirds, meaning you're starting on C, or whatever note the scale's on, and you're starting a third away with your right hand, your other hand. Let me get this thing out of the way. Just like that. And it's a bit different because now you have different finger crosses going on than you're used to. And when you're doing in different keys, you also have to be careful as well, because now your sharps are in different places as well. So I would learn them parallel, then contrary, and then in thirds, just like that. After that, you probably want to really just start getting into arpeggios, right? I mean, the scales will take you a long time as well, but the arpeggios are great because they involve finger crosses. They involve kind of like a shifting up the keyboard. And another thing is you're going to find arpeggios, like scale patterns, in your music all the time. Isn't that exciting? Let me show you the next exercise. Okay, let me show you one. Let me get one thing up here. One thing a lot of students neglect to work on if they're working on their two-handed playing ability is sight reading. And if you don't know, sight reading is just looking at a piece of music from sight. You've never seen it before and being able to play it. Now you may be thinking, well, what does sight reading have to do with playing with both hands? Well, here is what it has to do with. So sight reading, when you sight read, you want to be reading through a piece of music. It's usually a very short section. You can read through actual sheet music or just get examples. And it's a little bit easier than what you're working on. And what it's going to train you to do is being able to play a piece of music like basically for the first time and getting it to sound like something. So you're probably used to, learning a piece and having it take weeks to really sound like anything. Well, the better of a sight reader you are, the better you will be able to just read through the music naturally without having to really focus on each individual note. I can explain that better. Hold on. Let me try again. I like to get it right because then I have to re-record, and it's a pain. Okay, one type of help with my brain work today. Okay, one thing a lot of students neglect that's hurting them with their two-handed playing is actually sight reading, which is being able to read through a piece of music the first time. Now, you may be wondering, what does sight reading have to do with playing with both hands? Well, here's what it has to do with. So, the better of a sight reader you are, first of all, the better of a musician you'll be, because you'll be able to pick up songs and be able to read through them. Like, first try, you might make a few mistakes, but if you get really, really good, you can learn some pretty complicated stuff without, looking through each individual note, painstakingly taking weeks to learn each thing. So how does this apply with playing with both hands? Well, when you're playing with both hands, you want to be focusing on the two-hand playing, right? And the coordination between both hands. You don't want to be focusing on notes, rhythms, all this stuff, and including both your hands. It just won't work out quite as right. It's too much for your brain to handle all at once, at least for most of us. So a good thing is that if you're really good at sight reading, you're going to be able to look at a piece of music. You got the notes down because you're good at sight reading. You've been practicing it for a long time. You got a lot of the rhythms down. So what do you get to focus on? The coordination and the dexterity and the independence between these two bad boys. So it really, really is a skill that is going to help you learn to get a lot better at reading with both hands at the same time. Now, how should you sight read? You should ideally be sight reading something a little bit below your current playing level. And the reason behind this is because something way above your playing level or at your playing level currently, you're not going to be able to sight read it. Really, the goal is to get from the beginning of the example or the piece to the end with relatively few mistakes. It's really hard to sight read with no mistakes, but you want to get from the beginning to the end. And I'm telling you, the better you get at this skill, the better you're going to get at every other skill being a musician. Sight reading is the number one test of how good of a musician you really are, in my opinion. Okay, let me do this. Okay, if you want to get better at sight reading, no, not sight reading. If you want to get better at playing with both hands at the same time, because of course you did, you clicked on this video, check out this playlist I have, the Two-Handed Piano Training Series, where I go over a lot of these examples and exercises I talked about today, but in more detail, because it's a lesson just on scales, a lesson just on Hanon, a lesson just on Czerny. So check those out. You really, really need to do that. All right, and make sure you're subscribed. You have all notifications turned on. Your piano teacher, Tim, here, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Okay, I'm still here. I just wanted to do that so when I piece the lesson together, it's not that bad. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on here. Play the scales only with 3 fingers or alternatively 3 and 4. What? Play. No, let me see. Let me get the thing up here so everybody can see it. And welcome, everybody. My kitty plays piano with me. Well, that's awesome. Kitties don't let you get away with much. Do you play scales with 3 fingers? No, you play them with all the fingers. So I think I'm misunderstanding here. Annie says, awesome job you're doing. The bird was late, but that's okay because we started late today, so that's fine. What are the names of the Czerny books for starting out with? All right, let me link you to them. One was the School of Velocity, and this website. Well, the shame is I love this website, but they do this weird thing where they're blocking links. I kind of get why, but not really. I get what they're trying to do, but I just don't think it's just stupid. Anyway, enough of what I think about other websites. Okay, School of Velocity. Now, here's the deal. For this link to work, it might work if you click on it. It works sometimes. But what you might have to do if it doesn't work is copy the link address, put it up in the bar, and then hit enter. I don't know. I don't know. Don't ask. I think they're trying to prevent bots from accessing their website too much and then bogging down the server. But like I said, I just don't see how that's that great. Anyway, the passage playing is here. That was the second one, second Cherny one. And Carol Christensen is here, everybody. Welcome out, Carol. Glad to have you back with us again. The Complete Book of Scales, Chords, Arpeggios, and Cadences. So True is a good book for learning your scales and stuff. So let me show you what that is. Okay, so on Amazon, Amazon.com, or any website, here's what it looks like. The Complete Book of Scales, Chords, Arpeggios, and Cadences. I recommend you get this book for sure. All right. Oh, man, I'm getting tired. Sorry about that. Annie says, thank you very much for that, Carol. I will look for that book. Much appreciated. Okay. Okay, got that. In what order should I learn my scales? Everywhere I look is different. That's a good question by Annie. Okay. The order you should learn your scales is the order in which they add the sharps. Right? So you obviously want to first learn C major. Has 0 sharps, 0 flats. Then you want to learn G major, which has 1 sharp, F sharp. So the reason you don't want to jump from, say, something with no sharps to 7 sharps, because it's going to be too much for you to handle, at least most likely. So after 1 sharp, the key with 1 sharp, then you want to learn the one with 2 sharps, which happens to be D. And a little cheat for you, well, the next one you will learn is 3 sharps, which is A. So you may be wondering, well, how do I figure out, what key comes after what? Well, here's a little cheat for you. Start with C. C is the first one you want to learn. Then every chord after that is 5 notes apart, or not chord, but scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's where you want to start. So that's G. That's the next one you will learn. So what's the next one you will learn after G? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then D has 2 sharps. Which one has 3 sharps? A has 3 sharps. Which one has 4 sharps? E has 4 sharps. Which one has 5 sharps? B. So each note or each scale that you want to learn next is 5 notes away from the other. However, I got to tell you that after B with 5 sharps, you got to make sure that number 6 is F sharp and not F. F is a different one. So F sharp, and then the last one you will learn is actually C sharp. So just careful that the last two was 6 and 7 sharps, or F sharp and C sharp, not F and C. That's going to throw you off. So then in the order, then there are flat keys, right? So you have C with 0 sharps, 0 flats. Now you're going to go up 4 each time to figure out which one you could learn next. So what scale has 1 flat? Well, that's the key of F, right? Then, which one should you learn after F? You got to be careful because with all the flats except for F, I know they make it as confusing as possible, that it's going to be B flat. Same thing when you go from B flat, 2 flats to 3 flats. You got 4 notes. It's going to be E flat. Same thing with the next one is A flat, D flat, G flat, and then the last one's C flat. So I know it's kind of weird. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're not used to your keys and key signatures. It makes sense to me because I know how like the key relationships between one another and about perfect fours and perfect fifths and things like that. But just start out with that 0 sharp, 0 flats, then learn all the sharps. Just going up 5 notes from there. I can't talk today, which is really annoying me, but all right. But I think you get the idea. In the order of, you should learn them in the order of the sharps and the flats. Let's see. Hey Tim, I hope you're doing well. Thank you very much, James. I am doing pretty well. I'm tired today. I'm playing around with the idea of possibly changing the time of the live streams to be earlier in the day. Cause what's happening is I started exercising more in the day, or like early in the day. I get a lot of my work done in the morning. I'm a morning person by far. The only problem with that is that by this time I'm like dead. So I'm thinking like, well, if I make it earlier, I'd have more energy, and then I'd have the evening to do whatever, because it would be nice to like be able to do stuff at night. But it's something I'm going to have to think about, because I know some of you wouldn't be able to make it. So I don't know. I'm just going to keep going with it for now. If we change, I'll let you know. And either way, you're going to get the recording afterwards anyway. So thank you so much for all that priceless info, Tim, says Annie. You're very welcome. Let's see. On the circle of fifths, we have ascending order of major and corresponding minor scales with the same signature. The sharps on its right side and flats on its left side. Yeah, the circle of fifths, like if you are not familiar with your key signatures, you want to become familiar with your circle of fifths. And you know what? I'm going to get you a lesson here. I'm going to link it to you because I made it. That's how you know it's good, right? That's not narcissistic at all. Anyway, let me get you a link. One of my most popular lessons, and I think for good reason. Circle of fifths. Yeah, I agree, Jeremy. I am going to do... You retracted the message. Too late, I saw it. I am going to do what's best for me, for sure. And we're going to go from there. Check out this circle of fifths lesson. Sorry, I spaced out there for a second. Yeah, I will do what's best for me ultimately. Because like I said, just 8 o'clock. Sometimes I'm feeling it. Sometimes I'm great. But especially recently, I kind of just changed up what I've been doing in the morning, and it's been tiring me out more, which is a good thing in a way. Let's see. D Telephone says I had a question. You can call me Tim, by the way. You don't have to call me Timothy. I don't really mind if you call me Timothy, but that's just what I go by. See, I can't talk. My brain is ruined. Do you begin every piece with your hands in root position? No. So, like, in the beginning, the answer is yes. Like, if you're learning Jingle Bells or something. However, once you get more advanced, like Fur Elise, you're kind of all over the place. So the answer is no. Oh my goodness. All right. Before we go, because like I said, we started late, but I can't do the whole hour. Because the last time we did the student showcase, I was up maybe until 9:30. We went like way over time with that one. And then I couldn't go to bed until like 12:30, 1 o'clock. Because it takes me like 3 hours of not doing anything mentally intensive to go to bed. It's weird. But that's how I work. Okay, let me show you over my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. First, I have courses over there you may be interested in, but I want to go over the calendar of what we're going to be talking about and when. So Sunday, 2 days from now, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That one should start on time because I don't really have anywhere I got to be beforehand. It's how to balance volume between hands. So that one's going to be like really about how to bring out the melody better and get your music to sound better. The next Friday, I'm excited for this one. It's why you should learn the soundtrack to Undertale, which is a video game I really like with an amazing soundtrack. And the pieces are really fun to play. They sound great, and there's other reasons why. I don't want to give you all the reasons right now, or there won't be a reason for you to show up to that one. And then Sunday, on the 24th, we're having the Student Showcase number 2. So Student Showcase, if you don't know, is where you send a recording of your playing to me, and I review it here on stream. Like the last live stream of the month, I'll review all the submissions I got. I've gotten quite a few submissions for this month. I got some in like the last couple of days. I need to respond to those people, just let them know that I got them. And I will be reviewing them then. Sorry, man. I'm really burning out here. But so the only like rules are that you can only send me one submission per month. However, you can send me one every month. So you can send a submission for February. You can send a submission for March, for April. You just can't submit 2 in April and then 6 in March. And well, March would be going the other way, and then 6 in May, and then 2 in January, 2 in June, whatever comes after May. That's how you know I'm tired, because I say like weird stuff, but anyway, that's how it works. Send your submissions to me at tim@lessonsontheweb.com or on Facebook. That works too. The Piano Lessons on the Web Facebook page, not my personal one, because I may not respond. I don't check that one nearly as often. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this lesson, well, you know what? Let me do this. Let me do this. If you enjoyed this lesson, you found it helpful, make sure to leave a big fat like on this video, because it lets other students know it's a quality lesson that they can learn from as well. You're so talented, says Brianna. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know, I have been practicing. That's one development that has been going really, really well, is I have been practicing pretty much every day, except for today. Like twice a day. I'm actually improving, or getting back to kind of where I was like years ago when I used to practice all the time, and play recitals and stuff. But I think after a few more months, I'll be at that point, and then I'll finally be able to like get better again, which is really cool. Like I noticed just practicing the last few weeks, like my ability to move up and down the piano and hit notes accurately, at least when I'm not tired, is really improving, and my dexterity is really improving again. So I feel like the rust is coming off my hands, and which I'm thankful for. All right, everybody, you're very welcome. Have a great evening. I'm gonna see you on Sunday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thanks everybody for coming out. It's been your piano teacher, Tim, and I'll talk to you in the next lesson.